Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Wendy Huntley. For those of you who don't know, I'm the president of Connecting Kids to Meals. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for such an important brief discussion about the state of childhood hunger in Greater Toledo. And we're really fortunate we've got some folks that are going to share some information from the national perch to really give us a sense of what's happening around the United States and what's happening here in Toledo. So I really appreciate you taking the time. The reason we're doing this is to really give folks an opportunity to hear about the childhood hunger fight and what's going on around the country and right here. And we also want to give some of our funders an opportunity to see the great collaborative efforts that have resulted from the investments that have been made in connecting kids to meals and ultimately in the kids of Lucas County. And so we're grateful. We're really grateful for you being here today. So we're going to get things kicked off. Let's get rolling. When we talk about hunger and food insecurity, the United States Department of Agriculture has indicated that we've got, in 2019, 35 million families that face food insecurity and a little over 11 million kids that face food insecurity. So you might be wondering, what is food insecurity? USDA defines it as limited access to having enough food for all of the members of a household to live and to have an active, healthy lifestyle. So as we move through this presentation, remember that that's the definition. This is a challenge across the board. And so this is a list of our federal nutrition programs that are available here in our community. And our organization operates the CACFP program for our after school meals. And then we also operate the summer food service program during the summer months. And so a number of these other opportunities are available through our local school districts, as well as through the wonderful work being done, not just by the school districts, but also through Job and Family Services. And so a lot of folks around our community are taking advantage of SNAP benefits and so forth. And so we already know a lot of people around the country are struggling. So when we look at childhood hunger and food insecurity in particular, 1 in 7 kids nationally, 1 in 6 kids in Ohio, but 1 in 4 right here in Lucas County struggles with food insecurity. And so when we really look at some of these rates that are on this particular slide, the one that really should jump out at you is the childhood poverty rate of 40% in Toledo. Well, please bear in mind, all these numbers are pre-COVID. Everything's happened before COVID. So we know these numbers that are already alarming are even worse at this point. When we look at last year, we look at some stats that are provided to us from the USDA, as well as from the Ohio Department of Education, to help paint the picture so that people understand that we really do have a childhood hunger issue in our country, in our state, and in particular in our area. And so you see some of the statistics that are applicable. We've got 22 million students last year. For the first time ever, the number of students rose above 50%. And when you talk about kids that qualify for free and reduced meals, you're talking about kids who are at or below the poverty line. Their families need some support. So we have about 60,000 of those kids right here in Lucas County at our various large school districts, at our charter schools, et cetera. And so when you look at the number of kids that qualify, that helps to drive the number of kids that we know rely on school meals and need that supplemental help. What does hunger do, though? What happens to kids when they are lacking the appropriate nutrition? Well, it impacts them a number of ways. Academically, we know you can't focus. I mean, if I don't have my breakfast, then my staff will tell you it is really challenging to talk with me and to keep my attention. So when you talk about kids, you're talking about their academic capabilities, you're talking about behaviors, you're talking about stress levels. They wonder where their next meal is coming from. And you absolutely are talking about health-related issues. And so Food Research and Action Center is one of our national organizations that really, they dive deep into the data and they help us to understand what's really going on. So when we look at, what's happening, we're operating our programs earlier this year without incident. We were operating our after school meal program and had operated a very successful summer program, then COVID. And I think a lot of folks on this call and around, our community, they're just like, then COVID happened, right? So this pandemic has changed all of our lives in ways that we understand and quite frankly, in ways that have yet to be seen. The crisis has left our country, our state, and our community to struggle with unemployment, food insecurity, financial challenges, technology gaps, health-related issues, grief, and an overall sense of uncertainty. Specifically relating to hunger, the USDA is estimating that there are going to be about 50 million people that are facing hunger due to the implications of COVID. And those are just some of the preliminary expectations. And so I am thrilled today, absolutely thrilled today to have with us Eleni Towns. Eleni Towns is an associate director of No Kid Hungry campaign at Share Our Strength. And this campaign was launched in 2010 and aims to end childhood hunger by increasing participation in federal nutrition programs. In this capacity, Eleni manages a portfolio of No Kid Hungry state campaigns and has most recently led the organization's work in Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio, Alabama, and Pennsylvania, working with state agencies, school districts, and nonprofit partners. Prior to working at Share Our Strength, she has worked as a policy analyst at Feeding America and the Center for American Progress. And so we are thrilled, Eleni, to have you join us for this conversation today and to give us just maybe a few minutes of that 50 to 60,000 foot view and share with our participants a little bit about what you're seeing at the national level as well. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me. And good to be here to talk about what's happening in your community. As Wendy mentioned, I work with the No Kid Hungry campaign, which is housed at a Share Our Strength, the national nonprofit working against hunger and poverty. At the No Kid Hungry campaign, we believe hunger is a solvable issue, but one that's really gonna, really requires the joint commitment of everybody to make it a reality. And really are thinking about how do we leverage the nutrition safety net that already exists to really meet the kids that we know are facing a need. Wendy, you talked about the need, which is what we know is really great, and that was pre-pandemic levels, right? So we know, and what we're hearing is that it's really astronomical right now. Unfortunately, right before the pandemic hit, we had research that showed that we had finally reached pre-Great Recession levels around childhood hunger. So basically 10 years of growth that we'd had from our last economic crisis was erased pretty quickly at the start of this pandemic. And we now know we don't have as firm data because USDA hasn't moved through with this year's data, but our friends at Feeding America have done some really helpful projections. They, in their latest research in October, estimate that it's about 1 in 4 kids in Ohio, so statewide, which is much higher than 2019 rates, are facing food insecurity right now. So we see it in the limited data that we have, but we also see it in the stories and experiences of providers and families this year, and are really concerned about not repeating what happened last Great Recession, where it took so many years for families to get the support that they need and to get back on their feet, and really hope that we can meet the immediate need and set up families for the success that we know that they deserve. I think at a national level, I think some of the challenges are probably what you all are seeing in your community. Not to state the obvious, but as the need has grown, so has the challenges in trying to reach the need, right? We found, that there is a lot of confusion and a lot of information around what to do, what not to do, how sort of what resources are available. Limited research that we've done has found there's a lot of families that are needing nutrition assistance for the first time. So communication and reaching families and kids where they're at is more important than ever, especially as families are concerned about the risk of the pandemic and where they can get support. Taking care of staff and providers and families and kids in operating meal programs and support is also, of course, heightened during this time, and that's a real challenge as well that we're seeing across the country. At No Kid Hungry, we've had the pleasure of operating a grant program this year to provide immediate support to organizations, and are so thankful to providing support to the work you all are doing here. And I think through that work, we've really seen some of the things that have worked, some of the things that have been successful, and are so thankful for connecting kids to families, to meals, to helping illuminate that. I think one of the keys that we found is flexibility, really jumping in and being able to take action quickly to scale some of the programs that we've seen pre-pandemic or ones that we know work now to meet the increased need. Community groups that are able to leverage all of the flexibilities that are available to provide non-congregate meals, to grab and go, to meet families where they're at, to open new sites, to work as sort of a network, working with school districts and other community providers and city and county officials, really to fill in those gaps. And as I mentioned before, sort of fill the information and communication void, and make sure communities know what resources are available to them. In addition to the meal programs, I've been really thankful to see some of the additional programs in response. We are actively pushing for for Congress to do an additional stimulus package, but I'm very thankful for the increases in SNAP and the development of the new response to pandemic EBT program. So really see it as sort of a network of programs that can support families. Some will need more programs than others, depending on their makeup and where they are and what challenges they face, but really see all of these programs coming together to hopefully meet the need. Wendy, I hope that's helpful from sort of a national perspective of what we're seeing and what we're working on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eleni. And, we're grateful at Connecting Kids to Meals for the investment that was made by, Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry, to help us to be able to pivot and to have, the foundation that we needed in order to respond immediately, because we saw the increase, we saw all these things happening. And so, our organization's been happy to stand in the gap for kids. And so just want to take this opportunity to tell you thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So for those of you on the call that don't know, Connecting Kids to Meals, our mission, we're focused on providing hot, healthy meals to kids at no cost. And these are not just these are kids that are at risk. We've got, some really great things that we've been able to accomplish with the help of a number of our partners in this community. And so Shauna Woody's on this call. She is the director of operations for Boys and Girls Club here in Toledo, and they are a valuable partner of ours. We have a number of our partners here on this call, in fact, and a number of folks have been just incredibly helpful to us. And I want to give Shauna just a few moments to just talk a little bit about the partnership and how that has progressed through COVID. Shauna?
Thank you, Wendy. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Toledo, we are so proud to have a world-class organization as our sponsor, helping us fulfill our mission. And the mission of Connecting Kids to Meals and the mission of the Boys and Girls Clubs, they align. Our mission is to enable all young people, especially those who need us the most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens. This is a task, this mission, our organization, we take it very seriously. On what has been considered a normal day, our mission and serving our mission, it comes with challenges, but the rewards always outweigh those challenges. And then there's a challenge when food insecurity is present. How can our youth reach their full potential when their bellies are empty and they don't know where their next meals are coming from? And then enter COVID. When the schools closed back in March, we had to shut our doors as well. And we had to do this at our 4 clubs. 3 are connected to schools. Our Carson Family Club at Marshall Elementary, the Dave Warmeister Club at Sherman Elementary, the East Toledo Club at East Broadway Elementary are connected to schools. And then we have our flagship location on Detroit Avenue. You hear so much to talk about uncertainty, but I can say, even through all of that uncertainty, one thing was constant, and it was connecting kids to meals. Even before we could open our doors again, Wendy and her team, they trained our staff so that we were able to provide grab and go meals safely for everyone. And this allowed us to continue to connect to our members. And we weren't really sure when we were going to be able to see them in our facilities again. And then Connecting Kids to Meals, they kicked it up another notch by making sure that we were able to provide weekend meals as well. When we reopened in July, Connecting Kids to Meals was right there and in our buildings, and they were making sure that we could continue to serve, and we were doing this safely. They continued with the training and site visits to make sure that we were serving our members and continuing to be safe and adhere to all of the policies and procedures that needed to be in place. When our buildings were opened, one of the things that I was able to observe was the reaction from the kids, knowing that there was still a meal that they could have, and even the weekend meals. I sat at the door one Friday, and I watched the kids wait, and in particular 2 little boys, and they were waiting for their weekend bags, their weekend meals. And the smiles on their faces, you can't put any words to it. When we handed them their bags, but I knew, and it was bittersweet because you knew, number one, they needed that meal. But then there was that joy and that relief and that reduction of anxiety because they knew that they were going to eat for the weekend. And then when they took that meal out in the parking lot to their parents, it was the same thing. You could see that on their faces as well. And you hear about the anxiety with parents and all of the challenges that happen with adults. Not so much, and I'm glad Wendy was able to spotlight that, but you don't hear it as much as with the kids. And we're seeing that. And for Connecting Kids to Meals to be able to take that away, that at least that anxiety in terms of where they're going to get their next meal is just tremendous. They continue to kick it up a notch, and you can tell their care and concern for the community and the kids of the community, because last month what they did is, even through all of the meals that they're providing, there was a special touch with the Thanksgiving meal. So before we closed for actual Thanksgiving, the day before, they made sure that there was a Thanksgiving meal with all the fixings and apple pie actually, and a dinner roll and turkey. It was just a great experience. The kids were so happy to have that. And for a lot of them, just in a regular year, you're not really sure if that's the only Thanksgiving meal that they're going to have. And I'm sure that this was even increased this time, and it was the only Thanksgiving meal that they would have. The need is greater. It's even great. Their need is great, and then the need is even greater right now. And we are so thankful. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Toledo is so thankful to Wendy Huntley and her exceptional team for the leadership and consistency every day that they've provided, every day for every child.
Muted. I have to unmute myself so you can hear me. Shauna, we're so grateful to the Boys and Girls Clubs for our longstanding partnership. We, certainly celebrate what you guys do. It's critically important. It's just as important as what we do. And we have so many partners. We just wanted to take a moment and let you hear from one of our partners, because we work with folks, and we can't do what we do without you. So Shauna and Boys and Girls Club, Jim Ravis, thank you for everything that you guys do for the kids in our community. So as I was kind of sharing before I got cut off, we've been doing this work for almost 18 years now. We're starting into our 18th year. And so, when the pandemic hit, we had to figure out what to do, how to pivot, how to shift, how to change, how to continue to carry forth, our mission. And so we have a video that we want to share with you that really kind of, again, shows the collaborative nature in our community, and also really lets our funders know how much we appreciate them.
We announced yesterday that our schools would be closing at the close of school on Monday.
So a huge thank you. Thank you to our funders. Thank you to my staff. Thank you to our partners and of course, our volunteers for helping us to make sure that kids have had access to healthy meals during this COVID-19 pandemic. It's been tough on everyone, but I just wanted to say thank you. So just, our way of just kind of showing you, who we are, what we are doing, how this has all really helped, how coming together and pulling together has helped. But I do want to take a moment. I really want to drill down on a few of these stats because I think you all need to know how we were able to respond, how this community was able to come together and respond. So we had 120% increase in the number of meals. And when I talk about these stats are from March 18th through the end of August. So what we're really talking about is when the pandemic first hit, all the way through the summer months until the kids pretty much so went back to school. We also fed kids the first couple of days in September, but this is a key critical window of time where we needed to actually get the support, have the support, and stand in the gap for kids. And so we increased the number of weekday meals. We also implemented a weekend meal program. We were able to provide 187,000 packets, which every packet contained 14 healthy breakfast and snack items. And so when you look at over 2 million meals being provided, it's because of the things that this community has been able to come together and do. And then we were asked by Gordon Food Service to participate as one of their 4 local providers to actually distribute family food boxes. And so when we talk about carrying forward our mission, absolutely it's about kids, but it is also definitely about making sure that we're reaching families in our community. And so, when we look at what else has happened, we talk about job creation. We hired 35 additional people, an increase of 110%. And again, volunteer engagement was through the roof. Over 48,000 hours were contributed by folks in our community that said, we've got to help connecting kids to meals, make sure kids get access to meals. And so United Way, thank you for, hosting our weekend meal packing activities, for scheduling volunteers, mobile meals and lot. They also helped us to get those weekend meal packets together. And this is just a sampling of some of the additional folks we partnered with to make sure we were hitting other parts of our community. Metro Parks and Read for Literacy provided Explorer kits and then Read for Literacy books. It was just great. And it really evidenced just how our community has come together. And so, it is more than, Shauna shared, what our partners do. And so this is just a sampling of some of our partners where meals are available. Lucas County Public Library, thank you for being willing to be a site. And so we have to partner with places where we know kids are being taken care of and where we know kids are safely able to go to get and access meals. And so, these collaborative measures are just that. They're collaborative measures, but we absolutely cannot do this work without the funding. Funding has been so important when you talk about spending $250,000 every month on food costs and making sure the kids get access and then waiting for, some of the reimbursement dollars to come back. And so this is a sampling. It's not all of our funders, absolutely not. But it's a sampling of some of the funders that really stepped forward at a critical time for our organization. And so, I said it in the video, I say it now, and I will continue to say it. Thank you for, your funding, because your generosity has really been on full display. And so we want to make sure that, it's not just about, all of the wonderful grants and corporate sponsors that you just saw, but we were able to roll out our first Children First Relief Fund. And thanks to 13ABC, The Blade, KPM and Consulting, Thread Marketing Group, we were able to raise over $175,000 to help us pay for the actual weekend meals that were provided. And so, initially we needed to get the resources to purchase the food in order to do that. And so we were able to utilize our expertise and talk with our partners at ODE and figure out ways to get some of those cost reimbursements, but we needed that help initially. And then I thought it would be fun for you to see the need that's in this community the reality of kids being hungry was also felt by some of our young donors. And so you see some of the pictures of some of our young donors in our community that said, it's important for us to help. We may not be facing hunger, but we know other kids in our community are. And so you can see a sampling of some of those things. And so moving forward, what are we doing? What are we looking at? COVID-19 continues to surge. It continues to be an issue. It continues to hamper our families. We are seeing some record numbers of cases and hospitalizations and deaths and illness. And so we're going to need to continue to recognize that we are entering into some pretty ugly months ahead. And yes, there's a vaccine on the other side. Yes, we're hopeful, but those things all still take time. And so while we're moving into that, while we're moving forward, these are some of the things that we've got to do. We've absolutely got to band together. And so when we look at what is likely to happen, we look at our meal numbers. We collect meal counts every single day. And so we see what's happening on the ground. When we look at what has happened, you look at March, we came in as a supplement to what the schools were doing. When the school year ended and many of our school districts stopped providing those meals, you see that spike that took place in June. And it wavered down a little bit as we got to September when kids went back to school. But now with so many of our school districts going remote, either in full or hybrid, we're seeing those numbers start to tick up in our November numbers. And we know that in the next 3 to 4 months, as we know, the pandemic continues to surge. We anticipate that there's going to be not just a surge with COVID-19, but a surge in the need in our community. So what do we need to do as a community? Here are some of the things that we believe are going to be critically important for our community as we help individuals and families successfully navigate through this crisis. And so we've got to do all of these things and more. These are just some of the things that we need to do. And so Connecting Kids to Meals is committed. We're committed to continue to do the work that we've been doing. And I'll point your attention to Food Research in Action. There's a September 2020 report that came out that was pretty astounding. In the past, you've been talking about poor families that needed to access these nutrition programs. But now the research tells us 1 in 4 of our families that are accessing these services and are standing in need have incomes above $50,000. So it's really trying, a lot of our families are struggling with trying to make ends meet, trying to figure out how do we pay the rent, pay for the car, pay for gas, pay utilities, pay for insurance, do all of these things and put healthy food on the table. And so, you know, we're going to continue to build our collaborations and bring meals and value and hope to kids and their families. I mean, that's what we need to do, especially in this dark time. And we've got to make sure that everyone in our community knows where to access meals. We have meals that are at no cost. There are others that are doing some really great works, from our school districts to our food banks, to our communities, to our churches. We've got to wrap around all of these folks and make sure that there is some help. One of the leaders of one of our local food banks has indicated that they've seen a reported increase of 60 to 70%. And so this is not just about connecting kids to meals. This is about our community and the services that are available and need to continue to remain available. So for Connecting Kids to Meals, we're going to continue to focus on ensuring that kids have access to meals, and that, you know, we join together and we partner with so many of you and others in our community so that we can bring compassion, care, and support to those that stand in need every day as we move towards what is probably going to become a new normal. And so I just want to take this opportunity before we start our question and answer session and just say to each and every one of you, we're grateful for your partnership. We're grateful for your support. We're grateful for just taking the time today to hear a little bit more about what's going on around the country and in our area. And so Eleni Towns, thank you. Shauna Woody, thank you. And so we'll open things up at this point and actually take some questions.
Perfect. Wendy, thank you so much. I appreciate the great presentation. We're going to open up for questions for folks on the call. If you have a question, there's a couple ways you can ask that. You can certainly type your question into the chat window, or you can actually, under the participant tab here in Zoom, you can select raise hand. Or if you want, you can roll the dice and you can physically raise your hand. And if I see you on camera, I just might call on you there as well. The first question came in, and this one's an easy one, but I'll toss it to you, Wendy. The question came in asking if we'll be sharing the PowerPoint with the group after the call.
Absolutely. This actual presentation is being recorded, and we will more than likely absolutely go back, do a little bit of editing since I got kicked offline, and we will present to you not just a link to this, but also the PowerPoint presentation. So yes, absolutely. And feel free to share it with anyone that you want.
So as other questions are coming in, Wendy, when you look at, the partnerships that came through and the way that this community responded, as somebody who is, a native Toledoan, what's the pride that you feel about the way that our community rallied around the unique needs that we faced this year?
Greater Toledo has just astounded me. I knew we had a very compassionate and generous community, but from large donations to $5 donations, every dollar matters, and we have had just help from every corner of our community, and we are so grateful for that, because we couldn't do what we do without the support. We cannot feed kids and make sure that they have access to healthy meals without the support of funders and our collaborative partners and everyone that really makes this happen. And so, our staff, I'm really proud and honored to lead this group of folks, because unless you guys have visited, I know you heard it through Shauna, but when all this stuff kind of settles down, I invite you guys to come down. Our folks are just amazingly dedicated and passionate about feeding kids, and I couldn't have asked for a better set of folks with whom to work in order to make sure that kids in our community are fed.
Milva Wagner threw a comment in the in the chat window, but I'm going to bring her up on camera as well. Milva, I'll let you go ahead. You are on with Wendy.
Well, thank you. I just have seen in the news and in different platforms, different information about the good work that Connecting Kids to Meals is doing. I was very much a part of Wendy receiving the Outstanding Community Responder Award from National Philanthropy Day. And we know that she is working very, very diligently, not only with her staff, but with her partners. It's amazing to see all the partners that were presented today in the slide. It's just a work that never ends, and she seems to accomplish it. It may seem easy when you see her on the screen, but it takes a lot of work to do what she's doing, especially coordinating everything with all the partners in the community to make sure that Connecting Kids to Meal can serve as many people as possible. So it's just amazing the work they're doing, and it deserves recognition.
Milva, thank you. Thank you again. That award is something that our entire agency is proud about. And we are so proud and happy to just, if we can just feed one kid, if we can relieve the stress for a family for just one kid, our job is done. And so, with the recognition that has been provided from the Association of Fundraising Professionals, thank you. And again, the funding that is provided across the board, we're just trying to do our part. We're just doing our part. So thank you.
All right, I am going to toss it back to Shannon. Let's see if we can get her fired up. Or actually, in the meantime, I'm going to go to Terry Crosby with Taylor Automotive Group, who's been a great partner of Connecting Kids to Meals. Terry, go ahead. Don't get any of us in trouble, though.
You're on mute. You're on mute. There you go. Yeah, unmute.
Have I done it?
There you go.
Okay, hey. Hello, everybody. How are you? Wendy, I am just so, as you know, I'm so very proud of you and Connecting Kids to Meals. And I just admire the work that you do. throughout the city of Toledo and really just surrounding areas. And just please, if there's anything that I could do further or we could do at Taylor Automotive Family, please get in touch with us and let us know. I know that, we play a small part in your success and operations, but I'm really keen to get a little bit more involved as we move forward. We've had a relationship for many, many years, and I just love what you do. I love how you do it, and I just want to open my heart to you and just say, anything you want me to deliver meals to kids, you want me to talk to the kids, anything you want me to do, talk or whatever.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. And to Taylor Family Automotive, thank you for all the support that we've gotten in particular. And I'm so glad that we've built this relationship and, deepened the relationship. And you tell Steve that I said thank you so much for you all's support. And I wrote down that you're going to help us deliver some meals. So you're on the hook now. Thanks.
All right, we're going to Shannon. Shannon, all right, if we can get you unmuted.
Am I unmuted? Hi, Wendy. Thank you for the presentation. First, let me just say Huntington is really proud to partner with you, and I truly love my experience volunteering with you this past August. My question is, with 40% of the kids living in food insecurity right now, and with the surge in COVID and schools switching to virtual, do you see that percentage rising in 2021? If so, where do you project that to be? And then I have a follow-up question. What is your greatest need outside of monetary volunteer? Is it still that? Do you need food packers? I mean, just trying to figure out as we are aligning our dollars, our time and talents, for 2021, I just want to fully have a grasp of where we can get our colleagues engaged.
So first of all, thank you, Shannon, for coming out. Shannon came out and packed meals at our Washington Library site. And that was, I know, a great experience for you. It's always a great experience when we have a chance from management level to get out there and help our servers every day on the front lines to pass out meals. But, your question about the 40% of kids and about 40% of kids living in facing poverty in Toledo, these numbers, according to the experts across the country, they're saying these numbers are going to skyrocket. And so where I think they probably will be, it could reach 60%. I'm confident it'll exceed 50 because we just have a lot of families that are struggling. And, I can tell you, I talk with our servers and, one of our greatest joys is when a mom pulls up with a van that has 3 kids in the back and, just has that look of appreciation and tells us how much they appreciate it. And then of course the kids give us a shout out as well. When we have those experiences at the grab and go locations, we know the need. Not just because we're talking about it, but we see it on the front lines. And so I know that that's going to be a challenge. And, as far as how you, through Huntington, and thanks Sharon for the wonderful support that we get from Huntington Bank. Sharon is a friend of our organization and we really appreciate you guys. We're going to continue to need support. As plainly as it's put, we're part of a national buying group. So, we're able to leverage our dollars better than anyone can do. And so we leverage our funding, not just to provide meals, but also to create jobs for individuals here in our community. And so, we're going to need that funding support. We're going to need the volunteer support. We're going to need the sharing on social media, talking about, your partnership with Connecting Kids to Meals and why it matters. We need all of that right now because we got to make sure that our families in our community know how to access meals when they need help.
I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing, Wendy. Good to see you.
You too.
All right, so a question came in through the chat as well from a Kevin. I'm just going to compliment his name. I think his parents made a fantastic decision, but it's not for me. Is there a region or area in Toledo or Lucas County that is underserved and where we need to direct some of our focus?
Yeah, we've got some areas, with our funding and our grant applications, we've got, the East Side. I'm going to give a shout out to, I said I wasn't going to do that, but, Chris Schultz from Toledo Refining Company, helped and really was one of the first ones to help us to really look at our East Side and to really make sure that we're being as comprehensive as we can be. We've got partnerships with our LMHA Authority, Lucas Metropolitan Housing Authority. We've got partnerships at our libraries over there, but I think our east side is a place where we really are going to focus. Junction is another area. We really, unfortunately, have a lot of pockets that overlap in our community. And so, we want to just make sure that, again, got to get the word out that we have sites all over the place, even out in Holland. And we've been contacted by, the school district, Springfield Schools, letting us know, hey, kids are going to be out the 18th. Can we tell them that meals are available at, at our Holland library? I said, absolutely. Let everyone know that we're at a majority of the libraries across the community, and we will be there. You can count on us. We will be there, just like we've been there from the beginning of COVID-19.
All right, we're going to go to Suzanne, who has a question about sort of the holiday break. So Suzanne, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, you can go ahead.
Hi, thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Wendy and Connecting Kids to Meals too, because I speak with a number of my colleagues across the state with Ohio State Extension, and they don't see the level of organization and collaboration with their summer meal partners. And so very thankful for what your agency does for our community. Knowing that, some of the schools may not be offering meals, is there any plans for additional sites for distribution during the winter school break?
Suzanne, first, thanks for the partnership. We love OSU Extension Center. Go Bucks, my alma mater. And, we are going to be as responsive as possible. Our goal is not to duplicate services. So for, the efforts that, Toledo Public Schools, Washington Local, Springfield, Sylvania, any and all of our school districts in and around our community are doing, our job is really to supplement that. We even know that some of our charter schools are making sure that kids have access. So for us, the additional sites, absolutely, where it makes sense. And so, anyone that has a sense that, if it's a partner program or you're doing a learning community, contact us. Let us go through that process and determine if there's a site nearby where we can help, or if we need to establish you as a site. And so we're open to it. We do have to go through the process with the Ohio Department of Education to get sites approved and a part of the program. But that's just a process thing. And Ohio Department of Education, I know we had some folks join us today. They've been a great support for us. It's been a partnership. They're the oversight agency for the child nutrition programs that are being run throughout Ohio. And so we just really appreciate that partnership. And we are definitely looking forward to being where we know the need exists. And so we don't want to duplicate, but we will be there wherever the need exists. Thanks.
All right, so I know a similar topic or similar question was covered, but I want to go to Judd Silverman real quick. You talk about folks who've pivoted and done incredible work during the pandemic. They still managed to award just incredible charitable dollars in our community. So Judd, if you want to unmute, you are free to ask a question or clarification of Wendy before we wrap up. Oh, I think we're trying to unmute.
There you go.
There we go. Wendy, you're awesome. Your organization is incredible. We're grateful to be a part of it. And I wish we could do more. But I just want to know, I know when we brought Amy McCormick from Kroger in to meet you last year, she had a great question. And it was, what is your greatest need right now? And I'd sort of like to hear your answer to that. That'll give all of us, maybe an idea of how we can help in different ways.
Judd, thank you. Thanks for your question. Marathon's been a critical partner of ours, and we're so grateful for your generosity just a couple of weeks ago to help us to stabilize our financial foundation in order to continue to do this work that we're doing. So thank you, and thanks to your board. And of course, as Kevin said, you guys are amazing. You guys pivoted like very few other organizations were able to. And so we're honored to be partnered with you guys. When we talk about what you just talked about, you connected us with critical decision makers, Amy McCormick at Kroger, who then stepped forward, and Kroger provided us with a grant so that we could buy a large van that could do multiple stops with meals at our sites. That's exactly what we need. Of course, we always need resources, but connectivity is what we need, connecting us to people that are interested in helping to combat childhood hunger. That's what we need. We need that connectivity. And so we're grateful to Kroger. Kroger not only gave us the grant to get that van, but also supported our efforts financially during the early phases of COVID. And so it's exactly what you did, Judd. It's connect us, it's share and tell everyone about, it's not about hyping connecting kids to meals. It is about there are kids in this community that need help. And together as a community, we can make sure that they get their needs addressed. And so I just, appreciate what you guys do and appreciate that. So that's how you guys and everyone else can help us on this call.
Thank you. Great.
So we are going to wrap up. Thank you everybody for, all of the support. I want to make sure that you guys know during this winter time and as we move into, this next phase, we are going to absolutely increase. We're going to continue to provide meals during this holiday break. Again, we know that the schools are providing meals maybe once a week or every other week. We will be there every day. You can visit our site and find out those locations where we are. And I want to also invite you to visit, Partners in Education, partnerstoledo.org. Partners Education is a longstanding partner of ours. They have a calendar, and every day you're able to see where meals are served and at what times. And so, Michelle Klinger and your amazing staff, thank you for that support. And once again, I just have to tell everybody, you hear us talking about connecting kids to meals, but it truly isn't about connecting kids to meals. This is about what our community has done during this pandemic to absolutely open their hearts and open their arms, open their wallets, and to really make sure that people that need the help the most get it. And so, Eleni Towns, again, thank you for taking the time. Sharon Woody, thank you. And to each and every one of you that joined us today, thank you. Share this information out and make sure that people know that we have hungry kids in our community, but we do have a solution in connecting kids to meals. Thank you and God bless.